Happy Valentine's Day and welcome to Real Estate Roundup. I'm Emmanuel Romanis. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be joined by roofer Dan Mulkern of Mulkern Roofing. This is also leap year, 2016 leap year. So I did a little bit of homework in regards to leap year and Valentine's Day. And here's some fun facts. I don't know if you'll enjoy it or not, but I thought it was appropriate as far as leap year is concerned. The ancient Egyptians were the first ones to figure out that the solar year didn't always match up with the man-made calendar. Actually, it takes the Earth 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds to travel around the sun. Now, the Romans were the first to designate February 29th as leap day to sync up the Julian calendar with the Gregorian calendar. So, back 3,000 years ago, they figured out that the celestial bodies are not syncing up properly and time is not a constant. Pretty fascinating stuff for that far back in time. Now, Valentine's Day, which everybody knows is February 14th, its history is really shrouded in mystery. Not a lot of people have been able to pin down the actual origins of the patron saint, but we do know that St. Valentine's Day, as we know it today, contains vestiges of both Christian and ancient Roman tradition. The Valentine's Day greeting, which is popular as far back as the Middle Ages, was actually written first in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife. So that is the first documented history that we have of a written Valentine, was from Charles, the Duke of Orleans, to his wife when he was imprisoned in the Tower of London back in 1415. The manuscript of this resides in the British Library. So there you go. Now, if you want to contact the show, as always, you simply send an email to realestateroundup@outlook.com. But now we come to our segment that we call Who Knew? I was watching a bunch of old Westerns over the holidays, and I've noticed that the term teepee and wigwam is used interchangeably. And I got to wondering, are they the same thing? And is that accurate? Can they be used interchangeably? The answer when we come back.
BPTV. Come volunteer. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be here.
BPTV. Come on in, make a show. It's still fun after all these years.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the difference, if there is a difference, between the phrase teepee and wigwam, which, as I had mentioned, in a lot of old Westerns seem to be used interchangeably. Well, both are forms of housing that were prevalent to Native Americans, but they are different. A wigwam is more of a dome-shaped structure which is permanent in nature. It could be covered with grass, brush, animal skin, mats, reeds, what have you. Teepees, however, were portable structures utilized by nomadic tribes of the Midwest and also hunting parties, and it was covered typically with animal skin. Another big difference is with the teepee, there was always a hole in the roof, which allowed for fires to be built within the structure. In a wigwam, it had an enclosed roof, and you couldn't do that. So again, who knew? Okay, joining me now, as I mentioned earlier in the program, is Dan Mulkern of Mulkern Roofing. And Dan, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's start off with the very basics. How did you get into the roofing business, and how long has your company been around?
Well, we've been in business for 38 years now, Manny.
Wow, okay.
And through high school, I went to Votech, and I did work with a builder.
Okay.
And they're still in business as well, Martic Builders.
Yeah, right.
So I started out with them guys. They were doing a lot of residential work then, liked it. So then I went to work for Pavlik Roofing and Centimark, both out of Bethel Park.
Right.
And I wanted to see which way I wanted to go, whether it was residential or commercial.
Okay.
And I liked the residential side better. And then the longer we stayed in it, we moved towards more of the specialty work.
Okay.
Because there was such a demand for it and less people coming up through doing that type of work.
Now expand a little. When you say specialty work, Dan, what exactly does that entail?
It's the copper work,
Okay.
slate, tile, metal roofs. There's a lot of houses in Mount Lebanon, some in Bethel,
Right.
that they were built and they require a lot of different type of work. They have slate on,
Okay.
tile on,
So,
copper flashing.
Other than your standard asphalt roofing.
Correct.
Okay, got it. So this has been your life in essence, roofing.
It's been my life, and I hope I can continue with it.
Now I'm going to ask you a very silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you ever fallen off of a roof?
I have not.
All right, good. That's good.
I have not, and we have never had a bad accident.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So you have to really work towards safety, but it can happen.
I would imagine. Let's talk a little bit about, for the average homeowner, roof maintenance. Are there anything, or is there anything that the average homeowner can do on an annual basis, maybe every 5 years, I'm not sure of the time frame, or things that they can look for as far as roofing goes in their home?
Well, I think it's a good idea, Manny, to have your roof checked every year, depending where they're, whether it's on a hill, is there a lot of trees around it. Every house is different, every plan is different.
Sure.
And then depending on the pitch of the roof, if it's a new house, older house, but just even simple things like cleaning out your gutters,
Okay.
making sure the downspouts are clear. Our number one thing for calls for service is the pipe flanges coming up through for the plumbing vents.
Right, okay.
So the neoprene rots out around there, leaks down. They really don't know they have a leak till they look up and see their ceiling.
Right, okay.
And then the flashing would be the second. So it's a good idea to come out, have the roof checked, gutters cleaned. It's a lot cheaper in the long run, preventative maintenance,
Sure.
than getting into plaster work.
Sure, that certainly makes sense. I notice not a lot, but a fair number of homes have moss on the roof. Is that a concern or not a concern? And if it is, how do you get rid of it?
Well, now all the shingle, they're called AG, like AR, algae resistant.
Okay,
So all the shingle now, they didn't have that before, but you see the blue-green algae on the roofs,
Right.
that the roofs are all streaked.
okay,
And before, the houses weren't built as tight as they are today. So every time you put new windows, new doors, siding on, the condensation gets up in there and you start to see these streaks a lot more.
Oh, so condensation causes that.
And then naturally trees, like when you actually see the green moss
Right.
on themselves, and it'll gather whether it's shingle, tile, slate, shake.
Okay.
It can get on any type of roof.
Okay,
If you're handy, the easiest thing to do is cut Clorox, 50% Clorox, 50% water.
oh, okay.
You can go up, spray it on your roof, and then take a hose and scrub it off.
Okay.
It can get very slippery though,
All right.
so
I
exercise caution.
I notice I've seen commercials and heard through the grapevine zinc products. And I forget, I know there's a couple out there that claim you put it on the roof and it gets rid of the moss. Does that actually work, or Clorox sounds a heck of a lot cheaper and easier.
Well, and zinc, copper, if you look, even if you see copper flashing, you'll notice below it that there will not be the moss or
Right.
whatever. So some people put copper strips, but it's a long way from the peak of your roof to your gutter.
Right.
So
right.
to be effective, no.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
But the Clorox definitely works. Even if you have the moss, you spray that on there, you'll see it turn brown immediately.
And just it'll die off.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's good to know. I never thought of Clorox. You mentioned earlier, and let's expand a little bit, because a novice like myself, and probably most people who don't deal with roofs all the time, we know there are different types of shingles. Asphalt, slate, wood, tile, like you mentioned before. But are there advantages, disadvantages to different types of shingles? Is there something that's more cost effective than something else? What's your experience with different types of shingles? Or is it merely aesthetics and what people want?
Well, today there's a couple things. The shingle, the asphalt shingle, everybody's familiar with.
Right.
They went to fiberglass, and it's just the mat between them that the asphalt is impregnated on.
Okay.
And today you see a lot more dimensional shingle than the 3-tab shingle.
Right.
And then that takes a lot of the deviations out of the roof, and they're not that much more. You're definitely going to
Okay.
get more bang for your dollar with a shingle like that
Okay.
than the 3-tab. The 3-tab shingle now are becoming almost obsolete.
Okay.
Even the track builders, nobody's using those type of shingle anymore.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with them, but the dimensional are a little heavier. They seal down. A lot of them now give you 130 mile an hour wind rating, which when we have these storms, these little microbursts now,
Right.
it can actually target maybe 6 houses. There was one went through St. Clair a week or
Right.
two ago.
Right.
Just right up through. They last very short time, but the damage they can do, and the tighter those shingles seal down, the better off you are.
Okay. Okay. As far as longevity, which normally last the longest? What types of shingles last the longest?
Well, your fiberglass are going to last the longest.
Okay.
And naturally, as you go up into the dimensionals, you're spending a little bit more money for, but if you can get 25 years out of your roof, you did well.
Okay.
You did well, because they'll tell you, 50-year limited
Right.
warranties, but it's half the exterior of your house.
Okay.
And you think about the sun, the wind, the rain, everything we have, that's a long time. Be like parking a car outside for 25 years.
And it's constant.
It's constant. There's
Right.
no way out of the weather.
So anything over 25 years is a bonus.
Absolutely. And some people are getting 30-some years out of them.
Right. Okay. All right. Good deal. Metal roofs. You had mentioned this a little bit earlier. I've never seen it on a residential property. I have seen it a couple times on commercial. Do you get involved with metal roofs at all that much, or is that pretty much a passe nowadays?
Well, we do. On the residential, they're high end.
Okay.
They're big homes. They're nice homes. It's more of a commercial product, in my experience. But the cost is very expensive.
Okay.
To give you an idea, on a metal roof, a good metal roof now can run you about $6 a square foot just for material.
Wow. Okay.
Where a good shingle with everything, you might be at $1 a square foot.
Okay.
And then the labor is going to be a lot more money, because everything got to be cut,
That
bent.
makes sense.
So it's very expensive, but if you're building a very expensive home, sometimes it goes with the look of the house.
Now, what is the typical longevity of a metal roof? If somebody decided they want that look, they're willing to spend that kind of money, realistically, how long can they figure that roof is going to last?
My experience has been about as long as the shingle roof.
Is that
because
right?
You're going to have foot traffic on the roof.
Okay.
Then you got plumbing, you got heating, you got chimneys. So you got the snow, you got things to think of, because the stuff wants to slide off there.
Right.
So you either need some type of snow guards depending on the pitch.
Okay.
And you're going to be up there. The more foot traffic, if the roofs get scratched, then they need it painted. So
Oh, okay.
there are maintenance to a lot of these roofs. They don't last as long as people would think.
Okay. I never thought of that. Yeah, I never thought about it scratching. All right. flashing. Metal flashing is all that I'm familiar with. Or now with new products and composites and things like that, are there different types of flashing out there, or is it still pretty much the same old metal flashing that I knew of as a kid?
Well, there's a lot of different types, but it's really the gauge of the material of any material.
Okay.
Like our number 2 service call is for flashing. A lot of valleys, a lot of these houses are using a very light gauge metal in the valley.
Okay.
And if they're not using a closed valley where they're covering actually the valley up with the shingle, which I'm sure you see a lot in
Right.
construction.
Right.
So when it gets cold out like it is now, and then it warms up, gets cold, they start to get these little cracks in there.
Okay.
And then the water eventually is going to come in and start to leak. So it's always good to use a sheet product, something that's not in a roll.
Now, will flashing, if it's good quality, not real thin, will that typically last as long as the shingle will?
It'll last longer. If
It'll
it's
last
put in
longer?
right, it'll definitely outlast the product.
Okay.
And the same as with the chimney, we actually grind all our flashing into the mortar,
Oh, okay.
recess it back in, caulk it with, the caulking's a big thing as well.
Okay.
You know, you want to use a masonry caulking versus like an asphalt roof cement or something.
That
The
makes
UV
sense.
rays break everything down, and if you don't grind that metal in there, everything moves.
Sure.
It's, you know, a roof isn't something that's short term.
Right.
So
Right.
many people cheat on it, and they pay the price.
Okay. Gotcha. Types of venting when you vent a roof. When I was younger, all the vents were little cones or what have you. Then as I got older, I noticed that they started to go to those ridge vents running along the top of the roof. Is one better than another, or is it just a matter of style? Or
Well, myself, I personally like the roof fans, the power fans.
okay,
And I like the power fans because they have a humidistat and a thermostat. So this time of year, when it's really cold out, it gets rid of the moisture in your attic.
okay,
So you might have humidifier in your house, you might have a couple kids showering, cooking, depending on the layout of the house.
right,
So it gets very cold like it was this week. Then that moisture actually freezes on the plywood or around the nails.
okay,
So when it warms up, then people think they have a leak because they'll start to see, especially on cathedral ceilings.
right,
That's where around skylights, recessed lights from the light coming up,
Okay.
warming it up, it'll drip down through the light and it'll give them like a brown stain on the
Right.
drywall.
okay. Oh, so that's what causes that.
Yes,
All right.
it's
okay.
a condensation. Now the ridge vents are great as well, as long as you have soffit vents underneath
Okay.
to pull the air up through. If not, like this time of year, we had a call yesterday on a vent ridge, and if you get a negative air draft, it actually pulls the snow in.
Okay.
And it'll actually come down on your insulation
Oh,
until it warms
jeez.
up. They don't know till it starts to leak, and it's hard to get a leak if everything's frozen, right?
Right. Exactly.
But so when it starts to warm up, it melts down. But I have seen actually literally a couple inches of snow that have come in on top of insulation.
Oh my goodness gracious! I never would have thought of something like that.
And it doesn't happen usually on any other type of vents. Like the static vents are good. That's what they used to have.
Right.
And the ventilage, a lot of the track homes still use a metal ventilage.
Right. Right.
It's cheaper than the shingle over ventilage.
Okay.
But we prefer the shingle over ventilage with a filter in it because some of
Okay.
them do not have a filter, so it's much easier for something to come in like the snow and that.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
you want to make sure that it does have a filter, has a baffle. There's all different kinds on the market like anything else.
Sure. Sure.
Ventilation isn't one thing that you want to cheat on.
Yeah, I can imagine that. When you put down shingles, the nails that you use, do you still use nails or do you use tacks?
Yes, they're all, and the standard is 1.25" roof nail.
Okay. Now, are they coated specially, or is it just a normal roof nail? Or
The nails are coated. I mean, a lot of them are just galvanized, but you'll never see a nail actually rust out or go before the life of the shingle.
okay.
Now, with the slate and the tile that are on much longer, We like to use copper nails with either one,
Okay.
but not everybody did that. Sometimes the nails will rot out at that thing.
Okay, but it's very rare to see a nail rot out.
It's very rare, and the biggest thing with the nails, whether you're nailing them by hand or an air gun, makes no difference. But so many people, it has to go through both shingles.
Okay.
So when you see the shingle, especially on new construction, they're
Right.
sliding out, it's because they're nailed high.
Okay.
They get a gun, it's a hot day, and they're just bang, 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 not watching the nail lines. That is the biggest thing. If you put them on right, whether you're using an air gun or by hand, you won't have a problem.
Okay. Now, I've noticed in some of the homes that we see in selling real estate, once in a while, you'll see where a new roof was put on and it was just slapped on over the existing shingle. Now, again, I'm a novice, but I'm thinking that's probably not the best thing to do. Why do people do that? Just for ease and cost? And what's the detriment of doing something like that?
Well, it's very rare to see. I don't know any professional roofer that would go over top of a roof.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the people probably did it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the wrong thing to do naturally. You're adding twice as much weight to
Right.
the roof. There's no way to see what the roof deck is like underneath. You're trapping all the heat in there.
Okay.
I don't
Bottom
even,
line, just don't do it.
don't even think about doing it.
Okay.
Because the biggest thing, Manny, on the roofs, they want to, if you're getting your roof done, you always want to take it off down to the deck. You want to take the felt paper, the shingle off, re-nail the deck, very critical.
Okay.
Replace any of the wood, and then you start all over.
Okay.
Because so many people don't even take the felt off. If you don't take it down to the deck, you don't know what you have. And
Makes
the roof's
sense.
going to seal up tighter, and I know that with you in the real estate, you see some of the little bubbles in the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
The decking starts to get up. Well, you got to
Right.
take those shingle out to re-nail the deck.
Okay.
Much easier to do
Do
from
it
the start.
Do it the right way, like we were talking earlier. Either
Absolutely.
pay now or pay later.
Absolutely.
So do it the right way now. That makes perfect sense. New construction. Somebody is buying a new home that's going to be built brand new. Is there anything that the consumer should look for or ask as far as the roof is concerned? Because, quite frankly, buyers don't know what to ask. And they take it upon the builder. And 99.99% of the builders around here that I've dealt with are very, very reputable. But just from a layman's point of view, Dan, is there anything they should look for, anything they should ask regarding the roof on new construction?
Well, I would want to know who put the roof on, how long they've been with the builder, because there's a lot of great builders out here in this area. But sometimes, they are using crews. Sometimes people get so busy that they're going to take anyone out there.
Okay.
And the more custom homes, you're going to have a lot less problems than
Sure.
the track homes.
Sure.
But the biggest thing is to make sure the shingle are nailed proper. What type of flashing did they use?
Okay.
Because all the new homes, as you notice, have a steeper pitch roof.
Yes. Well, why is that?
Well, number one, the aesthetics, it looks a lot nicer.
Okay.
Your Ryan homes, the standard pitch was a 412.
Right.
Now they're all like a 6 to 8, 12 and up. With that, the houses look nicer. But as the wind hits
Okay.
it, it's picking up a lot more velocity with those steeper pitch roofs.
Okay.
And there's a lot more weight on the shingle. As the pitch gets steeper, the nails have to hold that weight in there.
Oh, okay.
And as they get steeper and steeper, you'll notice that the more shingle are sliding out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought of that, but yeah, I could understand how that would work. Okay. I never thought of that.
And I would ask the warranty what they do carry. And any builders
Right.
around here have a reputation, so they can go back and see if there have been any problems or if they take care of it.
Okay, good deal. Flat roofs, pitch roofs. Normally, you see a flat roof on commercial buildings. And in fact, I was thinking about this a couple days ago when I was putting this together, and I can't remember a time that I saw a flat roof on a residential building. Does it happen, and what really is the difference? Why do commercial roofs typically go with flat as opposed to pitch when all residential is pitched?
Well, the big thing with commercial, all your HVACs up on the roof, they have so much that it would be on the ground. If it can't go on the roof, where's all these units going to go?
Okay, okay.
So the commercial, it's great. It cuts down on the height of the building as well. Sometimes if they are even shingled, in the center of the roof, there'll actually be all the HVAC units there, which is flat, but you can't see that from the road.
Okay.
And it's much safer. You know, they have access through the inside of the building.
Okay.
Easier to service. Naturally, you're going to crane them on, crane them off.
Right.
Whatever you're going to do there. But very few residential houses are built with a flat roof. And if they are, there might be a lot of glass. So they want to be able to see, get as much light in as they can.
Okay.
But the flat roofs require a lot more maintenance because they're big. You have more movement. So when it gets cold and hot, anything's going to expand and contract.
Okay. Now, what typically, if you have a flat roof, what typically covers that? I mean, it's not shingles, obviously. How do you normally cover a flat roof?
Well, there's a lot of different ones, but the biggest one is the rubber.
Okay.
And then they have some torch-down products that are very well. But it really just depends what's going to be on there. If you get into restaurants, you got grease on there. So it just depends. The grease is very hard on a roof.
Okay.
So if people don't get up there and clean it, it'll actually eat through that rubber.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been very fascinating. Again, I'm a novice. You know, I look at a roof, but I don't really know what goes into it. Is there anything that you think would be beneficial for the viewers to know that we haven't covered, or anything you want to bring up that I haven't touched on?
Well, the biggest thing for the viewers that they really want to think about when the roof's coming due to replace, it's a good idea to call about 6 months in advance.
Okay.
Because come July, a lot of times your year is booked. You can do service work, but you can't. The bigger projects being built now are out of the ground. A lot of them are under the roof.
Okay.
So you have these projects coming up, but the biggest complaint we get is people call and think you can come there in 2 weeks.
Got it.
It can't happen because for some reason a lot less people are coming into this business. It's a very hard business to get into now with insurance and all the regulations. So there's going to be less and less people. So anytime you can, try to get on the books at least 6 months ahead of time.
Okay.
Because as you wait to the end, Manny, people come down, they're desperate, and usually if somebody can come do your roof in a week or two, there's a problem.
Got it. All right. Good stuff. Dan Mulkern of Mulkern Roofing down in Finleyville, correct? Okay, welcome back. Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.